Alright, welcome back to Zero Cool Gaming. And today I'm going to do a review of a game called Dragon Age 2.
I've had gentler invitations.
I am Cassandra Pentecost, Seeker of the Chantry.
And just, what are you seeking?
The champion.
Which one?
You know exactly why I'm here! Time to start talking, dwarf. They tell me you're good at it.
What do you want to know?
Everything. Start at the beginning.
Now, I'm going to preface this with a very simple understanding and a very simple overview of gameplay. Because when I get to the first game, we'll have a greater discussion about it, and I probably won't even cover the third game. So, what is Dragon Age 2 as far as the gameplay? It is a dumbed-down, simplified version of the first game. Everything about this game is a disappointment when compared to the first, as far as I'm concerned. This game should have never been created, not in the form that it was. Nothing about it is what I would call enthralling, interesting, or even truly worth your time. I did play all the way through the game. I got all the way through the story. I got to the end of it. I don't think I got the best ending, but regardless, I did play it. And along the way, the entire way, I was truly disappointed with every aspect of it. It would have been better off if they had taken everything from the first game and recreated it with just a new story for the second than what they actually created as the second game. And that's all I'm going to say about it. From here on, I'm just going to discuss the story and tell you what the story is. The story's not horrible, and that's the only redeeming quality this game has. So, let me tell you the story of Dragon Age 2. It starts out with a dwarf, which is the same dwarf from the first game. Well, I guess it depends on how you play the first game, regardless. Same dwarf from the first game. And he's brought in by a seeker from the Chantry to help her find the champion. And the champion is the main player character, or an apostate. When I played the game, I played a mage as well. Just like with the first game, I played a mage. It fits the story better. And he begins to tell the story of the champion, and it starts out with his escape from Ferelden. He fights through some darkspawn. A dragon appears and helps him, and that happens to be the Witch of the Woods or something like that. Witch of the Wilds. That's what she's called. I'm horrible with names, so I'm not going to remember any of these people's names. And she makes a deal with him that if she helps him escape from the darkspawn, that he will deliver a package to the Dalish elves that are near the town that he's going toward. And he agrees to do that, and she helps him get there by taking him to the coast, where he catches a boat and heads to the town of Kirkwall, I believe is how that's pronounced. And when he gets to Kirkwall, he finds that there are a lot of refugees that have fled for Eldon. And at this point, the city is overflowing with a population, and all new refugees are being refused entry. He tells them that he has family that's there, and tells them the name of his family, and it takes 3 or 4 days before his uncle arrives. And his uncle tells him, basically that he's lost all of their assets and home, and he now lives in Lowtown, and if he wants entry into the city, he's going to either have to join a group of bandits or a group of mercenaries. Now, with me personally, I did choose to work for the mercenaries because at least it seemed more honorable. I've never been one that liked to play the evil pathway in a game. It's just not something that I enjoy. So you work for them for a year. They give you entry into the city rather quickly, but you have to work off that debt. And after you've done so, you find out what's happened to the estate that your uncle was supposed to be taking care of, and he sold it to a bunch of slavers. So you enter the estate, you clear out the slavers, and you find the will. And within the will and testament, you find that everything was actually left to your mother, and your uncle squandered all of it. So the end result of that really doesn't change the position that you're in. You're living in squander, you're living in Lowtown, and you still need to do whatever jobs you can find that are available in order to make coin just to survive. You try to find a way onto a caravan that's heading into the deep roads, and the gentleman who's running it refuses to hire you as part of the regiment that's going down. After speaking with him, your change purse gets stolen by a local thief, and the brother of the dwarf that turned you down offers you another way to get onto the dark roads, or deep roads. And he tells you that if you can, collect 50 gold coins, they're not called gold coins, but that's basically what they are, you can buy your way onto the regiment that's going down there as a partner rather than just an employee. And that means that you need to do a lot of other jobs. After which you go to the town guard, where a lady that you arrived in town with is currently employed, and she tells you about some bandits that are getting ready to attack a convoy of supplies headed into town. You help her eliminate the convoy, and she gets chewed out by her boss, and she tells you that this isn't the first time that she's felt that there's something sinister going on. Basically alluding to the fact that her boss is being paid off to ignore certain crimes. And then you go back and talk with your dwarven friend, who explains to you that while though you're ready to go into the dark roads, the first entryway that his brother had found was a bust. So now you need to find another entryway onto the dark roads themselves. And he suggests going and talking with somebody who works with the Grey Warden that just came to town, because Grey Wardens have a tendency to go into the dark roads, and he may know a way or a passageway into the dark roads that would be advantageous for you and your group. So that's what you do. And that's basically where the real story starts to begin. I mean, up to this point, you were basically just finding out history, doing what you needed to get through what I would call the tutorial. And at this point, you really start to have, growth and what this game would call choice. There is no real choice in this game. You do make choices, but a lot of times those choices are subverted by the actual results of the choice that you make. Meaning it doesn't matter what choice you make, the results are the same regardless. Which is another thing that I didn't like about this game. It's not dynamic. It doesn't give you a feeling of accomplishment or any type of guidance or being able to do what you want within it. It is basically on rails. And I've never liked games that are on rails. So eventually you find the warden, and let's just say he's a retired, by way of not letting anyone know what he once was. And he happens to be in possession of maps to the deep roads, which is helpful. And he promises to give you those maps in return for a favor. He wants you to help him free another mage that has been taken in by the Templars. And you agree to do so, and you go to the Chantry to meet him. And you find that he's been turned into the Tranquil. And after you defeat the Templars that intend to take both of you into custody, he asks that you kill him, because living as a Tranquil is no life at all. And his friend agrees to do so. Now, the Grey Knight is, as I already stated, a mage. He's also a corrupted mage, not only by the darkspawn blood he drank to become a Grey Warden, but also by the demon that he allowed to possess him. So all around, bad things are happening. Excuse me. You, of course, realize that this is exactly what he is, even if he doesn't. But you agree to help him anyway, because for some reason he's able to currently contain the demon within him. At least to some point. And he's using the powers that have been granted to him as a result to heal the sick and cure wounds. Or heal wounds, I guess is a better way of putting it. So, excuse me. Damn. So currently there's no reason to kill him. So you agree to leave him alive. You take the maps that you need for the deep roads and continue on your quest to do what you can around town for those who need help. While doing so, you are asked to do a job at a mine, and that job is simply to clear the mine of whatever it is that's killing the miners. And when you do so, you find that it's a bunch of dragons. You clear the mine of the dragons, including the much larger dragon at the end of it, and then you're asked to convince the miners that survived to go back to work, and by doing so it will allow the owner of the mine to hire more people to work the mines as well. You also become a partner in the mine, promising to clear it of any further dangers should they arise, and in return you will be paid well for doing so. Then you're asked by the mercenaries that you worked for in quite literally servitude for over a year to do a job for them that they failed to complete themselves, and in doing so you find that the person that they asked you to kill was being targeted because he had decided to help the people of Ferelden rather than curse them, as many of the nobles in Kirkwood have. And you refuse to kill him because he's not a bad person. This, of course, truly pisses off the leader of the mercenaries, and he tells you to never return. And it's pretty obvious that that's going to come around to bite you in the butt at some point, but you don't really care. And then you meet a Templar that has swore essentially a blood oath to kill those who slaughtered his family. And he puts on the notice board a wanted dead or alive, basically, notice. And you pick the notice up and take the job. And afterwards he thanks you for your service and promises you that once he's regained his, family's name and their lands, that you'll be rewarded handsomely for your service. And then you meet a young lady who is a criminal by trade. You could say she's basically like part of the mob. And she's also a captain of a ship. And her last job, she was asked to captain a ship that was transporting slaves. And rather than do her job, she released the slaves because she doesn't believe in slave trade. And then the ship was caught in a storm and sank on top of it, which really pissed her employer off. And in return, her employer told her that if she could recover a relic, that they would spare her life. Well, she recovered that relic, but unfortunately it was stolen from her shortly thereafter. So the mob that she worked for sent a bunch of people to kill her, and you help her to survive, would be the best way of putting it. Knowing that this endeavor as well will most likely come to bite you in the rear one day. It's never a good idea to help the mob. Truly. After that, you work on some minor jobs, truly, and continue to work your way up. You help your family to gain renown and enough gold to where they will be recognized by the magistrate of the town and given your titles and lands back, which is your home in the nobles district, as well as some authority to retain help, like maids and butlers and things to that effect. Maybe even if you hired soldiers to defend the home if necessary. And all of that requires essentially permits given to you by the legal rulers of the town that you're operating within. And while all that's happening, your brother is slowly gaining renown as a lord, so that he and his mother can gain proper township, I guess is the way to put it. And he's always been a bit resentful of you. And he's never really liked the fact that you are a mage, because being a mage is a blight upon the family name. And even though you've helped him on many occasions and been there for the family as much as you can, that resentment, that hatred, continues to fester within him. And that leads to many family squabbles, you could say. But you don't let it bother you, and you try to get over it as best you can, and let him do what he thinks he needs to restore the family name. So you travel to the Dalish encampment, and you meet with their seeker? No, that's not quite right. Their mystic? They have a name, but I'm horrible with names. And she tells you that you need to take the amulet that was given to you by the witch up to the top of the mountain and perform a rite. And by doing so, your debt to her will be paid.
Everything's going to be all right now.
And you explain to her that you have no idea how to perform this rite, so it wouldn't do much good to just send you up there to do so. And she tells you that she's going to send you with her first, which is basically her apprentice, who knows how to do the rites necessary to complete the ritual that truly you've been asked to do. So you meet with this first and travel to the top of the mountain. And when you do so, how do I put this? The witch appears before you, but it's not really the witch. It's more like a partial creation of her. And she explains a lot of interesting ideas to you, but basically amounts to the fact that you helped her to get to this area without being discovered, and she turns into a dragon and flies away. Next you meet well, I shouldn't say you meet. You take the elvish apprentice back with you to the city, because that's where she wants to go. And you leave her to her own devices and to figure out how to survive in that city on her own. And then you are asked by a elvish mother to help a half-breed elf who has the abilities of a mage. The mother turned him into the Templars in order to be essentially imprisoned, possibly tranquiled. And he runs away because, of course, he feels that she's betrayed him. And when you find him, realizing that he's not possessed, you decide that it would be a good idea to take him to the elvish encampment that's outside of town, and see if their mystic is willing to take him in and train him to control his magic abilities. And they do. And then you go back to the mother and explain to her that this is, what's best for him. And then you meet another elf that has had markings placed upon him that look much like the wild elves, if you want to call them that. But these markings were done in lyrium in order to provide a power source to the mage that owned him as a slave. And you help him to defeat the guards of his master and all of the dominions of hell that his master had summoned to protect the mansion. And he thanks you for what you've done. and tells you if you ever need his help, he'll be there to help you. He also explains that he's pretty sure that his master isn't going to give up on his hunt for him because he's a piece of valuable merchandise to him. And then you go talk to the apprentice again, and she tells you of some troubles out in the outskirts of town, where basically a man is abducting elvish children for God knows what. And then you speak to the magistrate about it, and he tells you that he needs some help because the men that he sent to apprehend this man were slaughtered in the cave that he's hiding in. So you decide that it might be a good idea to go ahead and help the elves out and retrieve this man to face judgment for his crimes. So it's a pretty interesting as far as the quest that you get for the elves. The elves are treated like second-hand citizens, lesser than, truly. And they have no rights, they have no laws that protect them in that respect. And when bad things happen to them or their children, it's essentially ignored by the powers that be in the city that they currently live in. So it's an interesting dynamic in that respect, but it's far from any type of how things actually play out. The world is much more cruel than what this game tries to present, and many of the things that it presents are a fabrication of reality, in the fact that nothing is so black and white, truly. It's usually much more sinister than that. But regardless, you also do some other jobs, odd jobs. You continue your goal toward heading toward the deep roads, and they've hit a few snags along the way. You learn some more about the the dwarfs that you're helping. You learn some more about the dwarf that's been working with you. And you learn a little bit about the Merchants Guild, for which his brother is a member of. You also take on a few jobs where you do some pretty unsavory things for people, like retrieving enough poison to kill the whole freaking town, which probably is going to come back to bite you in the ass, by the way. And yes, the betrayal that you did for the mercenaries does come back to bite you in the ass, because he tries to kill you. So you have to wipe out the Merchants Guild and their leader in order to sustain your own life. Your brother realizes that he's not a third wheel in this, and that his father actually did love him, and even named him after a Templar that helped him to escape, because apparently your father had minor but a little bit of magic ability within him as well. So that helps him to feel a little better about who he is and where he may be headed and the things that he's done thus far. You also end up meeting with the Qunari, and the leader of the Qunari is what most people would call a general asshole. He blatantly lies, doesn't give a damn about his lies, and when those lies fail, he reverts to the truth and their own laws and says, "You're screwed, I don't care, get the hell out of my face," essentially. Which doesn't set well with you, but you're pretty positive you're going to have to deal with this jackass eventually. Because, well, that's just the way of the world. You meet with the magistrate again, like I said, and he tells you that if you can complete the task of capturing this man who's been doing God knows what with a bunch of elven kids, he'll be in your debt, and it's never a bad idea to have the magistrate of the city in your debt in that respect. And I'm sure he'll be willing, at least more willing, to listen to the pleas of your mother if you can gain his favor, shall we say. So, all around, it's a good thing to be a unknown mage, doing things, even if they're unscrupulous things, around the city to clean up the streets. So the next two quests that you take on are intertwined in a very unusual way. One of the quests is a series of women that have gone missing and are murdered. And you start this quest because of a husband who is being accused by the wife's family of killing his wife because of her unsavory behavior. Meaning that she many times goes to a brothel of men and sleeps with the different prostitutes, whether they're male or female doesn't matter, but the many prostitutes contained within. She at one time may have liked her husband. I mean, she married him, but quickly found that she needed more men to appease her thirst for sexual gratification. It's pretty sick, it's pretty twisted, and I think that this whole quest line in that respect is nothing but feminist propaganda. And women should be more prudish in their behaviors, period. Because sleeping with random men is not good for them. It's not good for their psychological well-being. It's not good for their ability to pair bond to a single man. And it leads them down a path where they're more likely to sleep with random men for the rest of their life until they can't any longer. Those are just my opinions on the matter. And the other is a quest line where different men from the Templar, as far as recruits, go to a brothel, and within that brothel there is a blood mage that essentially knocks them out, or brainwashes them in a way, and turns them over to other blood mages who have been possessed by several different types of demonic forms to be possessed themselves, and then they return the possessed recruits to the Templars to be awakened at some point to cause discord within the ranks. Basically, all of this is being done to allow blood mages and possessed mages to gain control and power over not just the city, but the entire region for which they exist within, like they once had thousands of years ago, before the Chantry and the Templars took over and forced them into a form of servitude and seclusion in order to maintain some facet of order. And these two quest lines do converge at some point. But until that happens, it's unclear as to what they have in common with each other. And of course the Magister, the ruling class, shall we call it, of the city of Karnath. Karnath? Is that right? Anyway, the city that they're working within. Um, he himself seems to have several peculiarities, including the fact that he's incapable of keeping proper tabs on his children. I mean, one of his children is a raving lunatic that kidnaps and murders elven children. He's essentially a pedophile. And the other one is a Qunari sympathizer, and the Qunari would gladly slaughter everyone that isn't Qunari. Which leads to some very odd problems, to say the least. And the Magister, rather than understanding that his children are part of the problem, does everything in his power to protect them from any type of legal actions being taken against them. Basically, it's political corruption at the highest level. And that sickness is causing a lot of other problems throughout the entire city, including all the methods of quote-unquote justice and order that the Magister uses to maintain control of the city itself. So yeah, these things are going to have to be dealt with, and unfortunately, because of the behavior of the Magister himself, it's quite possible that he's much more entwined in the goings-on of wrongness, evil, and injustice than he is willing to let on. So the Chantry wanted to start a war with the Qunari in an effort to purge them from the city. And they decided that they were going to use a Qunari mage to get that done, because they knew if he went rampant in the city, the Templars would have purged the Qunari, and a war between them and the people would have ensued. You, to her dismay, not only didn't die as a result of her turning the mage into your custody, but you were able to free the mage from his bindings. And he killed himself for your trouble. And then the fun part of the story starts to unfold, which is you finally get to go to the deep roads, which is something you've been working on for quite a while. You made a deal with a less than reputable dwarf to fund your part of the campaign, and all he asked for was twice the money in return for doing so. You agree to his terms, and the Deep Roads campaign begins. While in the Deep Roads, you eventually come upon an idol, and your dwarven friend tosses it to his brother, and for your trouble, his brother locks you into the Deep Roads and leaves on his own. You fight your way out of there, but your brother is infected by the Darkspawn before you completely fight your way out of the Deep Roads. And as a result, the Grey Knight that is with you, a deserter of the Grey Knights actually, tells you that he knows where the Grey Knights are, and if you can find them, they might be able to save your brother's life. So you make your way to them, you do find them, and they agree to turn your brother into a Grey Knight, but he'll never be allowed to return to you or your family, and he'll be a gray knight from that day forward. You agree to their terms and make your way out of the deep roads. Your mother's not happy about it, of course, but there's not much you could do about it. It was either that or he dies, or gets turned into a darkspawn. After which, you do make a lot of money from the spoils that you got from the deep road excursion, and enough so that you could purchase a home in Uptown. I think that's what it's called anyway. And as a direct result of that, you're given titles and prestige and even notoriety among the nobles. One of the nobles asks you to make an appeasement with the Canary, as they have been making demands, and one of those demands is that you be the go-between them and the rest of the city. When you make it back home, you find that the unsavory dwarf that you had made a deal with years before to fund your excursion into the the deep roads, he's become kind of an extortionist. Life hasn't been kind to him for the past few years, and he wants another 100 gold coins from you, for which you just simply give it to him, and he goes away, rather than trying to make your life more difficult. And then the captain of the guard, which is a lady that you traveled to Cornwall with, asks you to help an old Templar with his investigation into the murders of some young women that you started an investigation on years before, but were never able to complete or get any finalization on. And he tells you that he's uncovered some more information as well as evidence on this case, and he would like you to further the investigation if you could. So, the story itself, as you can see, it moves along in different tracks. Realistically, no matter how you choose to, no matter what decisions you make, let me put it that way, you still end up with the same quest, you still end up doing the same quest lines. And the only difference by the choices the game gives you is how exactly that quest may end. Other than that, everything else about it remains the same, including the quests that you'll get from that point forward. It's one of the things I didn't like about this game. It doesn't have a dynamic quest line, really. Your choices really don't matter, and they've made that perfectly plain in how they designed it. But regardless, helping the Templar in his investigation will lead to other quests that you had started many years before. Not exactly being answered in that respect or being completed, but, well, I guess you could say they are completed. But there's several different quest lines that weren't completed that come together to be completed. Let me put it that way. It makes a little more sense that way. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the things that I distaste, or that I find distasteful about this game. No matter what you do, you can't save your mother. Period. She's part of a quest that started a long time before she actually dies, and it has to do with the man that leaves white lilies and is capable of enchanting women and he uses her body to create a undead remaking of his dead wife. No matter what you do, you cannot change that outcome, period. There are several of your companions' quest lines if you choose to help them with their troubles. None of those change. No matter how you try to answer them, they'll always end the same. You can change one. You can kill Justice before he kills the leader of the Chantry. But it doesn't change the fact that the leader of the Chantry will die regardless. Now, this is what I mean by the game is on rails. Even if you kill Justice, another will just kill her. Even if you side with the Templars against the Circle, you still have to kill the leader of the Circle, and you'll still end up killing the leader of the Templars. It truly does not matter what you choose. Period. These things are going to happen no matter what you choose. And there are too many quests in this game that are like that. That's why I found it distasteful. That's why I didn't like it. It's one of the things that I found to be, I guess you could call it injustice. And it's not just this game. Several games that have been made after it are the same way. They give you the illusion of choice without there actually being one. A couple changes in lines of dialogue, maybe, yeah, great. Doesn't change the outcome at all. None of it does. None of it can. They had a story for which they were going to tell, and they were going to have certain events happen within it regardless. And you cannot change them, no matter what you do, regardless. I guess you could say this is the problem that I have with modern games that have been made in recent years. They don't care about making their games entertaining. They don't care about making the game to where you can influence what happens within it. They care about the message, whatever message that is, and you are simply along for the ride. And they may give you the illusion that you're not, but the reality is, and I know that because of this game, you are just along for the ride. You're just there to see what they want to show you, what they want to tell you. And I don't agree with that type of game making. I never have. I've never agreed with that type of storytelling. I never have. And yeah, you could say I've got major problems with it when I engage with it. And I know that people try to say, that this game's like that game's like that. All games have always been like this. Well, yes and no. I guess you could say that I just found the way this one did it to be distasteful. The way that this one chose to tell its story, I did not find it appropriate. And I guess that's more or less the real problem that I had, was the inappropriateness and the inability for your morals, values, understandings, beliefs to change anything. And it's the same thing that had to do with like the Kamari. It didn't matter whether you returned the book to them or not. The war with the Kamari still is done, regardless. The Magister of the, I believe he's called the Magister, I don't know, the Lord of the town, the guy who politically was supposed to run it, dies no matter what choices you make, period. Yeah, I've got problems with all this type of insanity. It's not the way it should be. And I don't like having a story forced down my throat with the morals and values of others, no matter how I try to influence it. Yeah, I've got issues with that. I guess you could say I've always had issues with that type of stuff. I don't like to be told what to do. I never have. It's one thing to be, in a work environment, and there's things that you have to do your job. I've never considered that as being told what to do. But when you have no influence over your own life and you're told what to do, I have issue with that. Major issue with that. I rebel against that, truly. Which is probably why I speak out against what's happening in my country today. Because I know it's wrong on every level imaginable. I can see the corruption. I can see the deceit. I can see the lies. I can see how it is harming everyone around them. And they don't care. They have an agenda. They have a message. And they don't care who they hurt, how they hurt them, or what they must do in order to achieve it. Even if it's against the will of every single person around them, they still don't care. And I've got major problem with that.
Believe the battle is almost upon us.
You don't believe there's a chance of winning this fight?
With you on our side? Perhaps. But even if we win, what then? More Templars would come, with even larger armies. We are apostates now. Our only hope lies in the circles elsewhere in Thedas. They could rise up with us against this injustice. I assure you, however, we will find sympathy nowhere else.
We will defend you as best we can.
I am relieved to hear it. You will need to give orders to your companions, and I will do the same for my people.
I want to help as well, even if I'm not fighting at your side.
Meryl, attack from a distance. Stay out of the fight as much as you can.
I will.
Fenris, I want you to stay close. Help out when you can.
As you wish.
Carver, watch and keep us from being overwhelmed.
Got it.
We're cornered. The Templars know it, you know it. But this is bigger than their hate, their fear. They've come to take your lives, and we are saying no.
So you can see why I would have major problem with a game that does the same damn thing to me. Anyway, I'm going to call that my rant for the day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of yours. If you could hit the like, subscribe, rumble, follow button, all that does help, and I'll talk to you later.